Honorable Minister of State for Home Affairs, Shri Kiran Rijiju, Mrs. Shelly Bhasin, CEO, Crux Creative Solutions, Mr. Gopal Pillai, former Union Home Secretary, His Excellency Mr. Rishi, Ambassador of France, Mr. Raghu Raman, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to welcome you all to this inaugural series of India Security Conclave. Let me extend a special welcome to our chief guest, Shri Kiran Rijiju, Minister of State, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. It's indeed an honor that Shri Kiran Rijiju, who has deep knowledge and experience of dealing with various security issues facing our nation, is in our midst. Today, we are here to deliberate on the security threats which are faced not only by one nation, but have become a global concern. It's a matter of deep satisfaction that we meet today to celebrate inaugural series of India Security Conclave. It's a matter of pride that Crux Creative Solutions is organizing the Security Conclave this year when the world is increasingly facing the threat of mindless terrorist violence against innocent civilians. Now, if we want to understand the phenomena of terrorism and if we want to find solutions to this problem, we have to understand the historical perspective also. The phenomena of terrorism is not new. The history of terrorism is as old as human willingness to use violence to affect politics. The Sicarii were a first-century terrorist group who murdered the collaborators of Roman rulers in the province of Judea. They would hide short daggers under their cloak, mingle with the crowd during festivals, murder their victims, and then disappear in the panicked crowds. The Hashashin, whose name gave us the English word assassin, were a selective Islamic sect active in Iran and Syria from 11th to 13th century. The first use in English of the term terrorism occurred during the French Revolution's reign of terror when the Jacobeans, who ruled the revolutionary state, employed violence, including mass executions by guillotine, to compel obedience to the state and intimidate regime enemies. However, they are not terrorists in the modern sense. Terrorism is best thought of as a modern phenomena. Its characteristics flow from the international system of nation states, and its source depends on the existence of a mass media to create an aura of terror among people. The characterization of terrorism as a state action faded, while the idea of terrorism as an attack against the existing political order became more prominent. There have been several non-state groups of terrorists. To illustrate, some of them are from Fenians in 1798 to Ulster Defence Association in 1972 in Ireland, Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt in 1928, Front de Liberation in Algeria in 1954, Front de Liberation Quebec in Canada in 1963, Red Army faction in Germany in 1968, Italian Red Brigade in Italy in 1970, Japanese Red Army in Japan in 1971, Asala in Turkey in 1975, Tamil Tigers LTTE in Sri Lanka in 1976, Al-Qaeda in Saudi Arabia in 1988, Lashkar-e-Taiba in Pakistan in 1991. The years which I have referred are the years when these organizations were founded. The list is just illustrative to show that many countries have and are continuing to face the threat of terrorism. In 20th century, terrorism continued to be associated with a vast array of anarchist, social, fascist, and nationalist groups. Europe, Asia, Africa, USA, Australia, all have been affected by terrorism. Some of the well-known violent acts that targeted civilians were Oklahoma City bombing in 1995, sarin gas attack in on the Tokyo subway in 1995, Beirut barrack bombing in 1983, Luxor massacre in 1997, bombing of Pan Am flight from London to New York in mid-flight. In Japan, a group known as Aleph, a Japanese religious group formed in 1984, attempted several unsuccessful violent attacks by using the methods of biological warfare using botulism toxin and anthrax spores. The suicide attacks started in 1989 by Palestinian Islamic Jihad when a bomb was ignited on board Tel Aviv bus, killing 16 people. 21st century saw the bombing of World Trade Center in New York and Pentagon in USA by use of civilian planes as bombs. Moscow theater siege in 2002 by armed Chechens, 2003 Istanbul bombings, 2005 bombing of London Metro and a double-decker bus, 2008 multiple target attack by armed terrorists in Mumbai, 2011 Norway attack, 2015 saw multiple attacks in France starting from January 2015 to November 2015. If we again see the history of terrorism, 1920s to 1930s, it saw socialism as a cause of terrorism. 1950s to 1980s, it saw the rise of non-state terrorism with nationalism as a cause of the terrorism. 1970s saw the rise of international terrorism, hijacking of planes, 1972 Munich Olympic killing of Israeli athletes. 1980s onwards, there has been the rise of religious terrorism, and we may see the rise of single-issue terrorism such as eco-terrorism, etc. in future. Cyber terrorism is also on the increase with the capacity to attack any nation in the world from any remote location with internet connectivity. As per the statistics of Wikipedia, more than 300 terrorist incidents have been recorded all over the world in the year 2015 alone, and this list is not exhaustive. The numbers of incidents in which more than 50 persons have been killed are 21 in 2015 alone. The major categories of terrorist incidents are kidnapping, storming and hostage-taking, attack on military bases, police personnel, massacre, mass shooting, bombing, car bombs, suicide attacks, suicide bombing, attacks on crowds, public places, ambush, attacks on villages. According to Global Terrorism Database, the number of casualties in terrorist-related incidents between 1970 and 2014 have been more than 140,000. This involves more than 58,000 bombing, 15,000 assassinations, 6,000 kidnappings since 1970. As per the statistics portal, the number of casualties have been varying from a minimum of 11,000 up to the maximum of 32,000 per year between the year 2006 and 2014. More than 178 organizations are currently designated as terrorist organizations by various governments all over the world. India has banned 37 organizations and all other organizations listed in the schedule to UN Prevention and Suppression of Terrorism, implementation of Security Council Resolution Order 2007. Now, these facts and statistics have been taken from the internet and may not be accurate, but nonetheless, it gives a fair idea of the magnitude, spread, and complexity of the problem facing the world. However, in spite of these facts and many definitions of terrorism, there is no consensus definition of the term terrorism at international level. In a series of 12 international conventions drawn up between 1963 and 1993 at the United Nations, particular terrorist actions such as aircraft hijacking and diplomatic hostage-taking were prohibited. The common definition of terrorism still eludes the world. The purpose of stating these statistics and historical facts about terrorism is to reiterate that the developing and the developed nations of the world face this problem of terrorism together. A study of history of terrorism shows that the lethality of the attack is increasing. There is increasing unpredictability about the time and place of attack. The capacity of the terrorist to launch multiple attacks at multiple targets at their time and place of choosing is on the increase. The technology also makes it easier for the lone wolves to come together and launch an attack despite never having met once. They enable terrorists to launch successful coordinated attacks across multiple locations, leaving the target country in complete chaos and panic. Friends, let me now turn to the challenges that are faced by the country within. India has no reason to be complacent. The new internal security challenges arising out of contemporary trends like increasing urbanization, growth of megacities, demographic shift, rising expectations of the youth and social media, they all need to be taken into account. We need to ask whether only better resources, training, and modernization of the police forces in our country can fight this war, or do we need something more than that? We need to ask whether we want only better response mechanism in place which will come into action after the incident has taken place, or do we need to do something more to prevent it? We need to ask whether we need more stringent laws to strengthen the police forces at the cost of human rights, or can there be an alternative to ensure better intelligence collection? We need to ask whether this war of terrorism has to be fought by only the intelligence agencies, police forces, or whether there can be other stakeholders also in this war. There are approximately 2.6 million police personnel in all the CAPFs and state police forces put together, whereas there are more than 7 million personnel employed in the private security sector. We need to ask whether there can be any synergy between the police forces and the private security personnel to prevent the incidents of terrorism. How can these two complement each other to create a better security environment? We need to ask whether the civilians will continue to remain victims in this asymmetrical warfare like the conventional wars, or they can also play a role as a stakeholder. We need to ask whether there are adequate systems in place to enable the civilians to give the information without fear of their identity being disclosed to strengthen the intelligence system, should they decide to play an active role as a stakeholder. We need to ask ourselves whether the role of media needs more role clarity to fight the phenomena of terrorism. Gentlemen, we are enthused that this year over 150 delegates from across the nation, from government representatives, police, private security firms, and media are participating in this conclave. Ladies and gentlemen, the India Security Conclave has come as an important gathering of public, private, and government to think on the present strengths and weaknesses in the system, the opportunities available, and the ways and means to further strengthen and convert our weaknesses into strengths to make the nation more safe. In the end, I once again welcome our honorable guest, Shri Kiren Rijiju, Minister of State, Union Home Ministry, and all other delegates. I am sure that today's conclave will deliberate all these issues and will come to better understanding of the problem and some solutions which may help all the stakeholders in this process. Thank you all.